change is not coming. It has already come. The inability of leaders to adjust to the changes that have already arrived will at best waste resources, and at worst cause a denomination or church to fail in its mission and eventually to collapse. An example from military history is the Civil War. The numbers of wounded and killed in action were extremely high in great part because of the generals' inability to adapt to the new developments in weapons. The generals in the Civil War learned their craft from wars decades prior. This mingling of old tactics and new technology produced a high rate of casualties. During the Reformation, Luther set the agenda and carried the day, while Pope Leo could only react. Luther's success and Leo's failure were the result in part of Luther's ability to adapt his new ideas to new media, modes, and models. The lesson for our leadership is don't be a Leo, be a Luther. Today, what will be called the revolution is a single trend that is already redefining faith and the Christian church. The revolution is repudiating tepid church systems, leadership, and practices, and is shifting our understanding of the Christian faith and in how faith is integrated into the world. We are in the midst of the revolution, which may be traced from the year 2000. The revolution changes the way in which persons in America have their primary spiritual experience and expression. Observers prior to the turn of the millennium were already predicting the shift in how Christians primarily expressed and experienced their faith. The prediction was that between 2000 and 2025, participation in local churches will be cut in half. Participation in parachurch or extra-church entities would increase 7 times. These predictions, at least about the local church, are shown to be correct in the experience of the United Methodist Church in Louisville Metro. The impact of the revolution on established denominations and on the United Methodist Church in Louisville Metro has been a decline of membership, decline of congregations, decline of worship attendance, decline of financial resources, decline of ministries and relevance. The revolution will result in this decline if denominations ignore the revolution. Some local churches will survive, but these survivors are what could be called the heavy footprint churches, those churches with a large staff and extensive facilities. They will survive, however, only if they adapt to and adopt the revolution. Mid-sized and small neighborhood churches will survive only if they become revolutionary centers. This observation is seen in the story of the United Methodist Church in Louisville Metro. Denominations may react to the revolution in 5 ways. 1. Ignore the revolution. 2. Oppose the revolution. 3. Coexist with the revolution. 4. Wait to join the revolution. 5. Become the revolution. Only in becoming the revolution can a denomination or local church remain alive and relevant. Institutional survival, however, should never be the motivation for becoming the revolution. Institutional and systemic forms and practices may need to change. The focus should always be to witness to the saving grace of God in Jesus Christ. How does a denomination, a judicatory, or a congregation become the revolution? Just as there will be surviving heavy footprint churches in the year 2025, so there are also emerging light footprint churches that will be a part of the proliferation of options in the future. I use the term light footprint not to suggest anything superficial, but to describe a church light in staff and facilities, maybe without either. Does this sound strangely like the book of Acts, chapters 1 and 2? An example of a light footprint church was a congregation I served when I transferred from the United Methodist Church to the Free Methodist Church. After leaving of the United Methodist Church in 2010, I became the pastor of a Free Methodist Church. I served this church without salary or benefits. The Free Methodist Church in Kentucky is served primarily by tent-maker pastors. Membership in the church was 15. Average worship attendance was 28. There were very few formal programs outside of worship. I performed pastoral care at a hospital or members' homes. My office was at my home. The facility, debt-free, is used maybe 3 or 4 hours per week. Light footprint churches are also called spiritual mini-movements, and they are on the rise. Their impact has been massive, but they remain invisible. The people involved in these mini-movements are predisposed to focus on their faith in God rather than institutional maintenance. They find the movements to be their primary source for relationships. They find their experience in particular movement to be exhilarating, and they enjoy the group's clear-cut goals and narrow focus. Spiritual mini-movements incorporate new elements such as the internet, television, radio, social networks, and community action. Mini-movements or light footprint churches may exist within macro movements or heavy footprint churches, or they may be house churches, family churches, and cyber churches. The fastest growing of these four are house churches and cyber churches. Micro mini-movements are narrowly focused groups and are growing faster than any other expression. Micro mini-movements include independent one-time worship events or parachurch and extra-church ministries that are focused on a single mission.